In the depths of the Buddhist canon, there exists a teaching often overlooked by those seeking enlightenment through wakefulness alone. The Buddha himself, in his final moments before passing into parinirvana, chose to rest on his right side in what is known as the lion's pose. This deliberate posture was not merely physical comfort, but a teaching itself, a reminder that even in our most profound transitions, rest holds sacred power. What if the sleep you've been neglecting, the rest you've been sacrificing to endless productivity, is not a weakness to overcome, but a doorway to healing that your body has been waiting for you to open? Through meditation, we discover that resistance creates suffering, and nowhere is this more evident than in our relationship with sleep. We fight against our own biology, override the body's ancient wisdom, and wonder why we feel depleted, anxious, fragmented. The modern world has convinced us that sleep is time stolen from achievement, that rest is the enemy of success. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us something radically different, that true power comes not from constant doing, but from allowing the natural rhythms of being to guide us. Sleep is not an interruption of life. It is where life regenerates itself, where the mind releases its grip, and where healing happens without our conscious interference. Consider for a moment the lotus flower, which the Buddha often used as a symbol of spiritual awakening. Each evening, as darkness falls, the lotus closes its petals, protecting its essence through the night. It does not resist this closure. It does not stay open to prove its resilience. It trusts the cycle, surrenders to the darkness, and in the morning it blooms again, renewed and radiant. Your body asks for this same trust, this same surrender. But can you give it? The sacred architecture of sleep. Ancient wisdom teaches us that the body has the remarkable capacity to heal itself. But this healing requires the right conditions. Through research into the glymphatic system, the brain's unique waste removal network, modern science has confirmed what contemplatives have known for millennia. During deep sleep, something extraordinary occurs. The brain cells reduce in size by nearly 60%, creating vast spaces through which cerebrospinal fluid flows like a cleansing river, washing away the accumulated toxins and metabolic debris of waking consciousness. This is not merely biological maintenance. This is sacred alchemy. While you sleep, beta amyloid proteins associated with cognitive decline are cleared away. Tau proteins that contribute to neurodegeneration are transported out of neural tissue. The brain, that magnificent instrument of consciousness, performs its own purification ritual each night if we allow it the time and conditions it needs. The glymphatic system operates almost tenfold more actively during sleep than during wakefulness, revealing a fundamental truth. The body knows how to restore itself when we step out of the way. The heart, too, finds its rest during sleep. Heart rate slows, blood pressure decreases, and the cardiovascular system recovers from the demands of daily life. The immune system strengthens, deploying specialized cells that repair tissues and build defenses against illness. Emotional memories are processed and integrated, their sharp edges softened, their meanings refined. All of this happens not through willful effort, but through surrender, through the act of letting go. This understanding transforms sleep from a passive state into an active healing practice. You are not simply turning off at night. You are creating the conditions for profound regeneration. You are trusting the innate intelligence of your body, allowing it to perform the intricate work that keeps you alive, alert, and whole. The crisis we've created. Yet we live in a world at war with rest. Current research reveals a staggering reality. Approximately 16% of the global adult population, over 850 million people, struggle with insomnia. In the United States alone, half of all adults experience insomnia at least once a month, and nearly 1 in 4 report struggling to fall asleep every single night. Young adults between 18 and 24 face the highest rates of nightly insomnia at 29%, suggesting that the crisis deepens with each generation. The modern world has engineered an environment fundamentally hostile to sleep. Artificial light floods our evenings, disrupting the ancient circadian rhythms that governed human rest for millennia. Electronic screens emit blue wavelengths that suppress melatonin production, essentially telling our brains that it is still daytime even as midnight approaches. The constant connectivity of digital life means that work never truly ends, that social comparison never ceases, that stimulation never stops. But the roots of our sleep crisis extend deeper than technology. The Buddha understood that suffering arises from the mind's fundamental restlessness, from our inability to be at peace with what is. When we bring this restlessness to bed, when we lie down carrying the weight of unfinished tasks, unresolved conflicts, and unmet expectations, the body cannot enter the state of deep relaxation necessary for healing sleep. The nervous system remains in a state of alert, convinced that danger lurks nearby, unable to trust that it is safe to let go. Consider what keeps you awake at night. Is it truly the noise outside your window, or is it the noise inside your mind? Is it the uncomfortable mattress, or is it the discomfort of being alone with your thoughts? For many, insomnia is not a sleep disorder, but a symptom of a deeper dis-ease, the inability to release control, to trust the process of rest, to surrender into the unknown territory of unconsciousness. The consequences ripple outward in ways we rarely acknowledge. Sleep deprivation reduces the brain's ability to clear metabolic waste by up to 60%, accelerating cognitive decline and increasing the risk of neurodegenerative diseases. Chronic sleep loss weakens the immune system, making us more susceptible to illness. It impairs emotional regulation, contributing to anxiety and depression. It reduces workplace productivity by billions of dollars annually. Most tragically, it robs us of the simple, profound experience of feeling rested, clear, and alive. Buddhist teachings on the practice of sleep. The Buddha did not teach his disciples to avoid sleep. Rather, he taught them to approach sleep with the same mindfulness they brought to meditation. In the Ekottara Agama, the Buddha instructed his followers to practice during the first and last watches of the night, but to rest during the middle watch, a recognition that the body needs adequate sleep to sustain practice. More importantly, the Buddha taught specific methods for sleeping well. The recommended posture, lying on the right side with legs straight or slightly bent, right hand under the cheek, left arm resting along the body, was not arbitrary. This position, known as the lion's pose, has practical benefits that modern research has confirmed. Sleeping on the right side stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest response. It improves digestion and breathing. It creates optimal conditions for the glymphatic system to function. The Buddha's final posture before death was this same position, transforming sleep into a symbol of ultimate surrender and trust. But the physical posture was only the outer form. The inner practice was more profound. The Buddha taught his disciples to concentrate your mind on luminosity, maintain righteous thoughts, have right wisdom, and always keep the thought of getting up. This instruction reveals a subtle understanding. Sleep should be entered with clarity and intention, not with a mind cluttered by worry or dulled by exhaustion. To concentrate on luminosity means to visualize light, perhaps a soft, warm glow at the heart center or a gentle radiance throughout the body. This practice serves multiple purposes. It gives the restless mind a focal point, preventing it from spinning into anxious thought patterns. It creates a sense of inner safety and warmth, and it programs the mind for lighter, more restorative sleep rather than the heavy unconsciousness that comes from collapse. To maintain righteous thoughts means to enter sleep with wholesomeness in the heart, with gratitude, with forgiveness, with compassion for oneself and others. The quality of our final thoughts before sleep becomes the seed from which dreams and the next day's consciousness arise. If we fall asleep in bitterness or fear, these states permeate the night. If we fall asleep in peace and loving kindness, these qualities infuse our rest. The teaching to always keep the thought of getting up may seem paradoxical. Why think about waking when trying to sleep? But this instruction prevents sleep from becoming an escape, an unconscious fleeing from life. Instead, it frames sleep as a conscious choice to rest, so that we may rise renewed and ready to engage fully with existence. This subtle shift in attitude transforms sleep from a defeat into a practice. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught a simple practice for releasing the day before sleep. To mentally review the day, not with judgment but with gentle awareness, then to say to each experience, "I see you, and I let you go." This practice acknowledges the events of the day without clinging to them, allowing the mind to close its files and rest. It is a form of what we might call sleep hygiene in modern terms, but infused with the spirit of mindfulness. The problem for most people is not simply that they cannot fall asleep, but that they cannot stop trying to control sleep. They lie in bed, willing themselves to relax, commanding their minds to be quiet, growing increasingly frustrated when sleep does not come on demand. But sleep, like meditation, cannot be forced. It arises naturally when the conditions are right, when the body feels safe, when the mind releases its grip, when we stop fighting and start trusting. The mind-body connection in sleep. The nature of mind is such that it cannot distinguish between a threat in the physical world and a threat in the imagination. When you lie in bed replaying a conflict from work, rehearsing a difficult conversation you must have tomorrow, or spiraling into worst-case scenarios, your nervous system responds as if these mental events are happening now. Stress hormones flood your bloodstream, your heart rate increases, your muscles tense. The body enters a state of readiness for action, the exact opposite of the state needed for sleep. This is why the Buddha emphasized mental cultivation as the foundation for all aspects of life, including rest. A mind that has not learned to be at peace with itself will never allow the body to rest deeply, no matter how comfortable the bed or how dark the room. True insomnia is not primarily a physical problem. It is a problem of the mind that has not learned to let go. The practice of meditation during waking hours directly supports the quality of sleep. When we train the mind to observe thoughts without becoming entangled in them, to notice sensations without reacting to them, to rest in awareness rather than constantly doing, we develop the capacity to release control when we lie down at night. The person who meditates regularly finds it easier to sleep because they have practiced the art of surrender throughout the day. Consider the teaching of anicca, impermanence. Everything arises and passes away. Thoughts come and go. Sensations appear and dissolve. Even the sense of self is constantly changing. When we deeply understand impermanence, we stop clinging so tightly to our experiences. We stop trying to hold on to pleasant states or push away unpleasant ones. This non-clinging naturally extends to sleep. We stop trying to force ourselves into sleep or maintain sleep once it comes. We allow the natural cycles of consciousness to unfold. The contemplation of dukkha, the unsatisfactory nature of clinging and craving, also serves our rest. When we recognize that our suffering comes not from circumstances themselves, but from our relationship to them, we can choose to release that relationship before sleep. The work deadline is still there tomorrow, but we don't have to carry the anxiety about it into our dreams. The conflict with a loved one still needs resolution, but we don't have to rehearse it mentally throughout the night. We can say, "This too is impermanent. This too I will meet with presence when the time comes, but now I rest." Creating sacred space for sleep. The environment in which we sleep matters more than many realize. In Buddhist monasteries, the sleeping quarters are kept simple, clean, and conducive to rest. This is not merely aesthetic preference, but practical wisdom. The external environment shapes the internal state. A bedroom cluttered with unfinished projects, glowing with electronic devices, or filled with reminders of stress, becomes an obstacle to rest. Transform your bedroom into a sanctuary, a space set apart from the demands and stimulations of daily life. This does not require expense or elaborate design. It requires intention. Choose colors that soothe soft blues, gentle greens, warm earth tones. These hues naturally calm the nervous system, unlike the stark whites and harsh brights that characterize many modern bedrooms. Keep the space clean and uncluttered. In Buddhist practice, simplicity of environment supports clarity of mind. When you enter a room filled with visual chaos, the mind unconsciously tries to process everything it sees, maintaining a low level of activation. A simple room allows the mind to settle more easily. Remove work-related items, exercise equipment, and anything that triggers associations with activity rather than rest. The quality of bedding matters. Clean, comfortable sheets in natural fabrics feel different against the skin than synthetic materials. They breathe better, regulate temperature more effectively, and simply feel more pleasant. This is not indulgence but respect for the body that serves you throughout the day. The Buddha taught the middle way, neither extreme asceticism nor excessive luxury, but appropriate care for the body's needs. Consider bringing elements of nature into the space: a small plant, a vase with fresh flowers, a bowl of smooth stones. These simple additions connect the bedroom to the natural world, reminding us that sleep is a natural process, not a manufactured product. Natural scents can also support rest. Lavender has been shown to reduce anxiety and improve sleep quality. Sandalwood creates a sense of grounding. Jasmine brings gentle sweetness to the atmosphere. The amount and quality of light in the bedroom dramatically affects sleep. In evolutionary terms, humans slept in darkness for millennia, and our biology still expects this. The pineal gland produces melatonin in response to darkness, signaling the body that it is time for sleep. Even small amounts of light from alarm clocks, charging devices, or street lights outside can suppress melatonin production and disrupt sleep quality. Create complete darkness or use a comfortable sleep mask. Temperature also matters. The body's core temperature naturally drops as we fall asleep and remains lower throughout the night. A bedroom that is too warm interferes with this process, making it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. Research suggests that a slightly cool room around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit supports optimal sleep. Sound requires attention as well. Some people need complete silence. Others find that gentle, consistent sounds like white noise or soft nature sounds help mask disruptive noises and create a cocoon of auditory calm. Experiment to discover what your nervous system prefers, but avoid stimulating sounds like music with lyrics or unpredictable noises. All of these environmental considerations serve a single purpose: to signal to your body and mind that this space is safe, that it is time to let go, that nothing requires your vigilance here. When the environment consistently supports rest, the body begins to relax the moment you enter the room, creating a positive association that makes falling asleep easier over time. The ritual of preparing for sleep. Just as Buddhist practice includes specific preparations before meditation, gathering the materials for the altar, lighting incense, settling the body, sleep too benefits from ritual. A consistent pre-sleep routine signals to the nervous system that the transition from activity to rest is beginning, allowing the body to start the process of winding down. 2 hours before your intended bedtime, begin the transition. Turn off electronic devices or shift them to night mode if you must use them. The blue light emitted by screens suppresses melatonin production, but this is easily addressed with screen filters or simply putting devices away. Instead of scrolling through news or social media activities that often trigger anxiety or mental stimulation, choose activities that support relaxation. Light a candle, paying attention to the simple ritual of creating gentle light. There is something ancient and calming about firelight, something that speaks to the deepest parts of our nervous system. Take a warm bath or shower. The warm water soothes muscles and raises body temperature temporarily. When you emerge and your temperature begins to drop, it mimics the body's natural temperature decline during sleep onset, making it easier to fall asleep. 1 hour before sleep, prepare a simple tea. Not black or green tea, which contain caffeine, but herbal infusions, chamomile for its calming properties, valerian for deeper relaxation, or simply hot water with a touch of honey. The warmth is soothing. The act of preparing and drinking tea becomes a mindful ritual, and the herbs themselves support rest. Read something light or spiritual. Not thriller novels that activate the fight or flight response, not work-related materials that engage problem-solving circuits, but poetry, spiritual texts, or gentle fiction that soothes rather than stimulates. Reading actual books on paper is preferable to screens, both for the lack of blue light and for the tactile pleasure of turning pages, which creates a more embodied, less cerebral experience. Write briefly in a gratitude journal. This practice, simple as it seems, profoundly affects sleep quality. When we consciously acknowledge 3 things we are grateful for before sleep, we shift the mind's attention away from problems and toward appreciation. Research confirms what Buddhist practice has long known: cultivating gratitude reduces anxiety, improves mood, and supports better sleep. 15 minutes before you intend to sleep, turn off all lights, except perhaps a dim lamp or candle. Sit quietly on the edge of your bed with a straight back. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. Don't try to change or control the breath, simply observe it. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest or belly. Notice the cool air entering your nostrils and the warm air leaving. This brief practice of breath awareness begins to quiet the mind's chatter and signals the body that rest is approaching. When you lie down, assume the lion's pose on your right side, comfortable but intentional. As you settle into position, bring to mind the image of light that the Buddha taught, perhaps a soft golden glow at your heart center. With each inhalation, imagine this light growing slightly brighter and warmer. With each exhalation, Imagine it spreading outward through your body, carrying relaxation and peace. There is no need to force anything, no need to make the visualization perfect. Simply hold the general intention of inner luminosity as you drift towards sleep. Before consciousness fully releases into sleep, offer yourself simple words of permission and safety. These are not affirmations in the modern sense of trying to convince yourself of something you don't believe. Rather, they are reminders of truth. I am safe in this moment. My body knows how to rest and heal. I release the day that has passed. I trust the night that holds me now. I will wake renewed. Let these words settle into your awareness like stones dropping into still water, their ripples spreading through consciousness as you surrender to sleep. Programming the subconscious for healing. The moments just before we fall asleep hold special power. In this liminal state between waking and sleeping, the conscious mind begins to release its control, and the subconscious becomes more receptive. The thoughts and intentions we hold in these final moments of wakefulness plant seeds that grow throughout the night. This is not magical thinking, but a recognition of how consciousness operates. The Buddha taught that mental formations condition our experience. What we repeatedly think about shapes the patterns of our mind. What we dwell upon becomes the lens through which we perceive reality. When we consistently fall asleep while worrying, complaining, or feeling afraid, we condition the mind toward these states. When we consistently fall asleep in gratitude, peace, and trust, we condition the mind toward these qualities instead. Speak to yourself as you would speak to a beloved child you are helping to sleep, with gentleness, with assurance, with love. Tonight, as I sleep, my body performs its healing work. Every cell is being renewed. Every system is being restored. I trust this process completely. I release all that I cannot control. I rest in the knowledge that I am exactly where I need to be. You might also address the body directly, with appreciation for all it does. Thank you, body, for carrying me through this day. Thank you for breathing without my conscious effort, for digesting, for circulating blood, for maintaining life. Now I give you permission to rest deeply and heal completely. I trust your wisdom. For those dealing with specific health challenges, this time before sleep can include gentle suggestions for healing, not commands or desperate pleas, but calm intentions. As I sleep, my immune system strengthens, my body repairs what needs repair. Balance is being restored. Whether such suggestions have direct physical effects is less important than their psychological impact. They shift us from anxiety about illness toward trust in healing, from fighting against the body toward supporting it. A practice for self-healing sleep. Here is a simple but profound practice you can use each night, based on both Buddhist contemplative techniques and modern understanding of the mind-body connection. Once you are lying in the lion's pose, comfortable and ready for sleep, begin this sequence. Close your eyes gently. Take 3 deep, slow breaths, letting each exhalation be slightly longer than the inhalation. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest mode. Bring your attention to your heart center, the space in the middle of your chest. Imagine there, in this center, a small seed of light. Not harsh or bright, but soft and warm like the glow of embers or the gentle radiance of moonlight. This seed represents your body's innate capacity for perfect health and wholeness. As you inhale, imagine this seed of light growing slightly brighter and larger. As you exhale, imagine the light beginning to spread outward from your heart center, moving through your chest, into your shoulders, down your arms to your fingertips. Continue breathing, And with each breath, allow this healing light to expand further. Let it flow down through your torso, warming and soothing every organ, every cell. Let it spread through your hips, down your legs to your toes. Let it rise up through your neck into your head, filling your brain with gentle luminosity, soothing your eyes, relaxing your jaw. As this light expands, it carries a simple message: alignment with wellness, restoration, healing. You don't need to visualize every detail perfectly. Simply hold the general intention that healing light is spreading through your entire body, and trust the process. When the light has filled your entire body, let it extend just beyond the boundaries of your skin, creating a soft cocoon of luminous protection around you. Within this cocoon, you are completely safe. Nothing can disturb you here. You are held by something larger than yourself. Call it the healing intelligence of the body. Call it the universe. Call it the Dharmakaya, the truth body that pervades all existence. Rest in this awareness for as long as feels natural, then silently repeat to yourself, "As I sleep, this light expands. My body aligns with its natural wellness. Healing happens effortlessly. I am safe. I am well. I rest." Allow yourself to drift into sleep from this place of inner radiance and trust. If your mind begins to wander to concerns or plans, gently bring it back to the sensation of light and warmth in your body. Don't fight the wandering mind, simply redirect it with patience, as you would guide a small child back to bed. This practice typically takes just 3 to 5 minutes, but its effects can be profound. Over time, you may find that simply imagining the seed of light at your heart center immediately begins to relax your body and quiet your mind, as you've trained your nervous system to associate this practice with sleep. The ultimate teaching of sleep. At its deepest level, sleep teaches us something essential about existence itself, something that the Buddha's entire teaching points toward. Sleep is the nightly practice of ego, death, and rebirth. When we fall asleep, we release our grip on identity. We let go of our story about who we are, what we've accomplished, what we need to control. We surrender into a space where there is no I that needs to achieve or prove anything. We dissolve into unconsciousness, a kind of temporary death. And yet, we do this willingly. We do this with trust. We know, somehow, that we will return. That consciousness will arise again in the morning, perhaps not unchanged, but fundamentally continuous with who we were before we slept. This daily practice of ego dissolution and reconstitution mirrors the ultimate spiritual journey, the letting go of the separate self, and the realization that what we truly are is not damaged by this dissolution, but rather freed by it. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. We cling to pleasant experiences, trying to make them permanent. We push away unpleasant experiences, trying to make them go away. We cling to our sense of self, our identity, our story, afraid that if we let go, we will cease to exist. But sleep proves this fear wrong every night. You let go of everything, and you survive. More than survive, you are renewed. What would happen if you applied the wisdom learned from sleep to your waking life? What if you stopped trying to control every outcome, manage every detail, force every situation to comply with your preferences? What if you brought the same trust you bring to sleep, that willingness to let go, knowing you will be held into your daily existence? This is the heart of the teaching. Sleep is not just rest for the body. It is practice for the ultimate rest, the letting go of the illusion of separation, the relaxation into the truth that you are not the isolated, struggling self you take yourself to be, but something much vaster, something that was never born and will never die, something that needs no protection because it cannot be damaged. When you lie down tonight, remember this: you are not just going to sleep. You are practicing surrender. You are rehearsing trust. You are allowing the healing intelligence that created you to do its work without your interference. You are touching, however briefly, the peace that passes, understanding the peace that is always here, waiting beneath the noise of the thinking mind, the peace that is your true nature, reclaiming rest in a restless world. The statistics are sobering. Hundreds of millions struggle with sleep. We live in a chronic state of exhaustion, reaching for coffee and stimulants to push through days, then reaching for pills and screens to numb ourselves at night. We have forgotten something essential: that rest is not a luxury but a biological and spiritual necessity. That deep sleep is not time wasted but time invested in the foundation of health, clarity, and well-being. You cannot think your way to better sleep. You cannot force it or earn it through one more hour of productivity. You can only create the conditions and then let go. Let go of the need to control. Let go of the story that you don't have time to rest. Let go of the belief that your worth is measured by your output. Let go of the anxiety about sleeping poorly, which only perpetuates poor sleep. Instead, honor sleep as the sacred medicine it is. Prepare for it with the same care you would bring to any spiritual practice. Create an environment that supports it. Establish rituals that signal its approach. Use the techniques that Buddhist masters and modern science both recommend: the right side posture, the visualization of light, the programming of the subconscious with healing intentions, the releasing of the day's concerns. But most importantly, shift your relationship with sleep itself. Stop seeing it as an obstacle or inconvenience, as time stolen from your ambitions. See it for what it truly is: your body's most powerful tool for healing, restoration, and renewal. Every night, you have the opportunity to activate this tool to support the glymphatic system as it cleanses your brain, to allow your immune system to strengthen, your heart to rest, your emotional memories to integrate, your very cells to regenerate. This is not theory or wishful thinking. This is measurable, verifiable science, the same science that the Buddha's inner investigations pointed toward centuries ago. Your body knows exactly what to do if you create the conditions and step out of the way. The architecture of healing is already built into you. You don't need to add anything. You only need to stop interfering. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, make it a conscious practice. Light a candle. Take a warm bath. Write 3 things you're grateful for. Sit in meditation for just a few minutes. Lie down in the lion's pose. Imagine light at your heart center. Speak words of safety and trust to yourself. Then let go. Surrender into the darkness, knowing that you are held, that healing is happening, that you will wake renewed. This is not about perfection. Some nights you will sleep deeply, other nights will be restless. This too is impermanence, the constant change that characterizes all phenomena. Don't cling to the good nights or resist the difficult ones. Simply continue to create the conditions, continue to practice the letting go, continue to trust the process. Over time, as you make sleep a conscious practice rather than something that happens to you, you may notice changes, not just in how you feel when you wake, though that may improve, but in how you relate to all of life. The practice of surrender you bring to sleep can infuse your waking hours. The trust you develop in your body's wisdom can extend to trusting life itself. The recognition that you are not the doer, that healing happens when you get out of the way, can transform how you approach every challenge. Sleep becomes a teacher, reminding you each night that you are not as small or as separate as you think, that something vast and intelligent sustains you. That letting go does not mean falling apart, but falling into wholeness. That the deepest healing happens not through effort, but through allowing. This is the gift of sleep, the sacred medicine available to you each night. Will you accept it? Will you create the conditions for it? Will you stop fighting and start trusting? The body is already waiting, already knowing, already ready to heal. You have only to prepare the space, lie down in trust, and let yourself be held by the ancient rhythm of rest that has sustained life since the beginning of time. The lotus closes its petals at dusk. The monk lies down in the lion's pose. The mother cradles her sleeping child. The earth itself rests in the quiet hours. And you too can join this ancient practice, this nightly surrender, this trust that life knows how to restore what has been depleted. You can stop trying so hard to control everything, including your sleep, and simply allow what your body has been asking for all along. Let this be your practice. Let sleep become sacred again. Let rest become medicine. Let the darkness be not something to fear, but something to trust. And in the morning, when consciousness returns, notice how even this simple act of proper sleep has changed you. Notice the clarity, the energy, the sense of being more fully alive. This is your birthright, available every night, waiting only for you to stop resisting and start allowing. May you sleep deeply tonight. May healing flow through your body without obstruction. May you wake tomorrow renewed in body, clear in mind, and at peace in heart. And may you carry the wisdom of sleep, the wisdom of surrender, trust, and allowing into all the hours of your life.